Hello everybody and welcome to the War Room. This one is for this weekend's heavyweight main event, UFC, between Alexander Volkov and CIRYL GANE. So the first thing that you're going to say is the difference in experience is crazy. 33-8 for Volkov compared to 8-0 for CIRYL GANE. Obviously Gane's got some kickboxing fights as well. I think 7 kickboxing fights. But the difference in experience just overall for Volkov, the people that he's fought over the years, the level that he's competed at, he's a very consistent, very mature fighter in his game. Whereas CIRYL GANE has risen to the top of the tree very quickly. He's a very dangerous individual because he's got a very diverse skill set. He's got great movement, great footwork. He's very fast. He's very athletic. But he's also got a ground game as well, which we saw in his debut in the UFC. So you've got to think this is going to be a striking affair, purely based on the fact that CIRYL GANE taking down Volkov is going to be arduous because Volkov's not easy to take down. He's got a 66% takedown defense, but that also doesn't do him justice in the fact that he has got a really gritty takedown defense game in spite of being such a tall guy. You know, he's good at digging underhooks and spreading his base and you know, and working his way back up into the clinch where he is very dangerous. I think it would be a massive waste of energy for CIRYL to try and force this fight to the floor. You know, surprisingly, there's not a great deal of difference in their height. I mean, there's only a 3-inch difference, Volkov being the taller man, but an inch reach advantage goes to CIRYL GANE, and he's going to be the faster guy, and he's going to be more mobile. So if I'm CIRYL GANE, I'm using the space in the octagon, and I'm moving as much as I can, and I'm peppering him with fast shots. But I'm going to use feints as well, because Volkov is a little bit slower than GANE. So if CIRYL GANE can feint him and draw an attack, then he can cut an angle and attack him while Volkov's trying to recover his balance from missing. There's a technique that could be really useful for Volkov, or it could work terribly against him, and that's his front kick to the midsection. You know, we saw him use it against Walt Harris. He was using it against Overeem as well. He jabs it right into the midsection, and because he's so tall, he's got such long legs, he's able to spear it in and really cause a lot of people pain. And it is a fight-changing shot. You know, you get hit in the midsection with that, and you start to, you know, your arms start to come down. You feel like your core strength is starting to give a little bit. Is how it feels. Like your body wilts a little bit, and we've seen that in some of Volkov's opponents. And he's also got great knees when he closes distance as well. But honestly, it's the diversity of it's the diversity of CIRYL GANE's game compared to like the mature, well foundationed game of Volkov. I mean, the experience that he's got, he's gonna go a long way here, because he's gonna have fought guys that are faster than him before, that are constantly mobile, and he will have also fought guys that, you know, they move laterally and then they've got that nice fast sprint attack. He's going to be using that front kick just to keep jabbing into the hip of CIRYL GANE and try and stifle that movement. But as I said, it can work against him, because if CIRYL GANE feints as if he's going to come forward and Volkov throws the kick, and then GANE is not actually moving forward, he can get him to miss and and attack him when he's trying to recover. The downside to Volkov is that, you know, he is a little bit kind of labored and a little bit cumbersome in his movement compared to CIRYL GANE. You know, GANE's in and out movement, lively on his toes. We know he can do it for 5 rounds. You know, if it does end up on the floor, you've got to think he's going to be attacking head and arms and ankles. But I really think that's going to be a more challenging path to victory, considering who Volkov's been in there with, and you know, and the fact that he's I mean, was he got any submission? He's got 2 submission losses on his record out of 41 fights. 22 knockout wins on his record and 3 submissions. So he's very much he's a brown belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's very much a kickboxer in mixed martial arts with good takedown defense. One other thing to consider as well is, you know, because he is such a tall fighter, he's used to people closing distance on him quickly and trying to use his height against him, trying to close him down, get their hands on him and get him to the floor so they can nullify that height advantage that he's got. But even in the Stefan Struve fight, Volkov fought like the taller fighter, which tells me that he's got a really good understanding of how to use his reach and his range. dictating the center is something Volkov's very good at, especially when he starts to feel the fight is starting to come within his reach. You know, the point where Overeem started to get a bit bloody and he started to be a bit more responsive to, you know, to those shots creeping through his guard, is the point where Volkov then starts to be very overbearing and starts to walk him down and really kind of poke and prod through his guard. Not every shot has to be a fight ender, and he knows that. He'll kind of pick his holes in the guard, and then he'll start landing some more power shots. That's again where the maturity comes into play, because this is a 5-round fight. And what we've seen so far from CIRYL GANE is that, you know, he can stay on the outside and largely be untouched by his opponents, but it doesn't always go that well. You know, you're going to fight someone eventually that knows how to use their footwork as well as their reach and is going to be able to cut you down. I mean, you know, if we just look through CIRYL GANE's record, so he came into the UFC at 3-0. He fought Rafael Pessoa and beat him by arm triangle, which was a big surprise to everybody, because when he came into the UFC, he was, I mean, we were all told he was a kickboxer. You know, he'd stopped 3 guys in the first and second round, 2 with strikes and 1 with a front choke. So, I mean, you know, even a front choke, it's a striker's submission, because as soon as someone starts coming with strikes, a level changes there, and that guillotine or front choke becomes an option, which, you know, I just spoke to Overeem. It's one of the reasons why Overeem was so good with the guillotine, was because he was such a good striker. People put their head in a position to be choked. So when GANE came into the UFC, everyone's like, well, he's got kickboxing experience. He's fighting out of MMA Factory, which is, I mean, it's an MMA gym, but there's a lot more kickboxers in there than MMA fighters, I would say. And, you know, and he just stopped the last 2 fighters with strikes. So then he comes in, he gets an arm triangle over Rafael Pessoa. Then he finishes Dontel Mays with a heel hook, but then he draws Tanabosa. And for me, that was a really good test, because I rate Tanabosa highly as an opponent. I think he's talented. I think he's fast for a heavyweight, and another guy that's got great footwork. So then we saw GANE against someone else that's got good movement, to see how he competed with someone that could maybe nullify that mobility that he has. And again, you know, unanimous decision. It was an impressive, well-rounded performance. Came in and smashed Junior Dos Santos in the second round with that elbow to the side of the head, back of the head, up for debate. And then, you know, the unanimous decision in his last fight against Rosenstrike. Like, Rosenstrike may be a good warm-up for Volkov, but he won't wait for the opportunity to come to him. You know, Volkov will cut the space down. He will force CIRYL GANE into a smaller space up against the fence, where he has to fight out his way out a little bit, or maybe clinch and level change. Anytime CIRYL GANE's moving forward, though, he's got to worry about those straight spearing attacks, the straight punches and the straight kicks to the body, as well as the knees up the center. GANE would do well to keep moving circularly and keep getting Volkov to turn and face him and try and expose it, you know, try and expose angles and attack in there. This could quite easily be a battle of low kicks as well. You know, if I've got someone like CIRYL GANE that's moving so much, I want to really try and slow them down as much as possible, especially if I'm Volkov and I don't feel like I can elevate my game to keep up with him. Like, Volkov's not going to be matching him for footwork. If anything, he's going to have to paint him into a corner and use his reach, you know, and his long weapons to try and manage him up against a fence panel, so he's not running away and Volkov's chasing him the whole time. I mean, it could be a very frustrating night for Volkov. Where he can't actually find CIRYL GANE for the whole time in the octagon. It might be very frustrating, but I still feel like the experience that Volkov's got, especially in mixed martial arts, I feel like he's going to be able to force CIRYL GANE into smaller spaces in the octagon, force him into a choke point up against the fence panel, and maybe start to make him work there. I would like to see CIRYL GANE under pressure, because someone that's 8-0, we need to see where the limitation is in his game right now. You know, I don't want to see him keep climbing up the rankings, and, you know, when we've not found out whether he's really a fully well-rounded mixed martial artist or not. I'd rather him have a couple more fights against some tougher fighters and, you know, see if he can really be tested. But the heavyweight division is absolutely electric, and when you pick up a win over someone like JDS and then shut down, you know, another top contender like Rosenstrike, you're going to find yourself in these situations. Whereas Volkov, he's the guy that's got to, you know, he comes in slightly taller than most of these guys, but he doesn't have any real, you know, explosive physical attributes. It's all about technique and experience. So his 33-8 record, he's really gonna play in here. Let's just have a quick look down the stats, and then I'll leave you to it. So slightly higher work rate for CIRYL GANE. higher defense considerably, 69% compared to 56% for Volkov. But as I said, Volkov is slower. He does put himself in range, but, he is highly successful with his strikes. 33 wins on his record, 22 knockouts. That's a hell of a percentage he's putting away, 66% of his opponents, basically. Striking accuracy is slightly higher for Volkov. Again, he puts himself into range, but he picks his opportunities well. Now, obviously, CIRYL GANE's going to lead the stats in the grappling. Takedown accuracy is very low. It's 26% compared to Volkov's takedown defense at 66%. That's why I think it would be a waste of energy for Gane to come out first round and really try and grapple him. Maybe do what Yan did against Izzy. Kickbox with him for 2 rounds and then, power double right to the floor and then, make the most of it once you're there. But Alexander's going to be very tricky off his back. And CIRYL GANE, 100% takedown offense. I think it would be a waste of time for Volkov to initiate a takedown, especially when he has the experience on the feet and the range and the ability to cut the octagon. Down. What I will say is if CIRYL GANE tangles up with him, we might see him opt to grapple a little while just because he feels like he's going to be able to compete there. Again, the experience that Volkov's had all the way through his career. You look further down his record, he was fighting really tough individuals all the way through his career. I mean, Rico Rodriguez, back in 2012, former UFC champ Brett Rogers is in there as well. It's Mighty Mo. it's not like he's not been fighting tough guys all the way to the UFC. He came through M1, he came through Bellator before signing with the UFC. So now this is the final run of his career, and we're really seeing the best of Volkov. Whereas I feel like Gane, maybe another 3 or 4 years till we see the best of him. Should be a good fight though still. Very competitive. Enjoy. I'll see you next time.